Hello and welcome back, most illustrious members of the Detail. I'm your host D, also known as MTF Doom, and today we're gonna have a little meditation on this card Sunspot, on the importance of patience, and on lessons unlearned and relearned. I hope you enjoy. So, I've been playing a lot of Sunspot, partly because there is not so much of a threat of Killmonger anymore. He really fell off. And partly because I have relearned a lesson that I knew when I very first started this game that I kind of forgot. It felt quaint, okay? And we're going to talk about that today because I think it's very interesting. This is going to be maybe theory light, we'll say. It still definitely relates to Snap, but tangentially. We'll just get into it. So, Sunspot is a 1-1. At the end of each turn, gain +1 power for each unspent energy. Now, specifically, I've been playing him in this deck and seeing quite a bit of success. The double bay. So the idea is you, Moon Girl, you try to keep your hand fairly empty except for a She. You want to make sure you have at least a She-Hulk and enough space that when you Moon Girl, you'll copy She-Hulk. Moon Girl duplicates your hand. She-Hulk is a very nice 6/9. Costs 1 less for each unspent energy you had last turn. So you want to go turn 5, Magic, turning one of the locations into Limbo. Turn 6, nothing. And then turn 7, Infinite, double She-Hulk, and maybe even a Titania. And if all goes right, you've deployed, 20, 29, 38, 44? I believe 44 power. Something like maybe 43? Maybe 44. So, that's really good, right? And also, ideally, you've played Sunspot. So he soaked all of turn 6. He got +6. And the deck is sweet. People aren't running Shang for another reason I'll get into a little later in the video. So you're not soft to it regardless, because in general they have priority going into this turn 7 because you haven't done very much. You've just kind of like twiddled your thumbs and let Sunspot soak for a couple of turns. And so they have priority, so they can't even hit your Hulk and Infinite. But additionally, you're deploying them in 2 to 3 different lanes, depending on your needs. So it's like they can all, if they're going Shang plus a 3-drop, you're probably winning anyway, because you deployed functionally 3 6-drops, plus maybe something else. It's pretty good. So why am I talking? Well, it re-taught me a lesson. So when I first started Marvel Snap, if you don't know, the first season that I played, I ended at rank 114, and I think I capped out higher than that. I think I capped out in the 120s. And a big part of that was, well, it was patience, right? Like, Sunspot incentivizes patience. Sunspot incentivizes you kind of just sitting and waiting and seeing what your opponent does. And I think so many of us are so concerned with like, oh, we have to play everything out. Like, we have to, if we have cards left in our hand at the end of the game, like, that was wasted potential. And that's true. But think of how many times the funniest games for me when playing Sunspot are games where I go like Sunspot, maybe armor on 2, and then like just sit there on 3 and 4, do nothing. Magic on 5, 6 do nothing, 7 play triple spells, right? Or like, you don't even Moon Girl. You just like, this doesn't matter, and you've won by playing like 3 cards and then like 2 more cards, and it's very funny to me. And I kind of knew this lesson when I started, right? A big part of the reason that I did so well is that I was playing reactive cards and thinking about like micro advantages, right? I took so much pleasure in, my opponent played a 1-drop, so I'll play my lizard in that lane, because then later I can Killmonger, and even if they fill, lizard will gain 3 power and they'll lose some amount of power because that 1-drop's gonna die. And so they're not gonna see the Killmonger is gonna like free up way more power than they're expecting to have to fight in that lane. And oh well, if you play, uh, you, I don't even remember all of them, right? I just remember finding all these little, like I say, micro advantages, and playing into them, and literally being like, I've noticed if I just don't play Enchantress out right now, if I let them, set up with Wong first, and then I stay ahead in the other 2 lanes, and I hit them with the Enchantress or the Cosmo, I win more cubes, right? Like, I win more cubes doing that than just playing Enchantress out directly into their Wong, like, right now. And that's all stuff that I kind of forgot, because it feels quaint when you start getting into Pool 3 and you start doing these very, like, Hoogs Dudes. This is a very, like, this isn't even that pool. Yeah, it's pretty Pool 3 heavy. You start deploying these very, like, integrated, optimized strategies that you do require all your cards, you do require all your energy, you have to be doing something that's advancing your game plan, and you get a ton of power out of the whole package as a total, but you don't really have time to wait, right? And so thinking about the game in those micro advantages suddenly becomes, like I say, quaint really is the word for it. And this happened in Magic as well, and I think it's happening in Snap. I mentioned in my tier list video yesterday that, like, Cosmo and Enchantress really fell off, and like I'm sure they're gonna make a comeback. Cosmo still sees some play. Like, I see a Cosmo once in a while, but I do not see Enchantress, and like it's all a cycle. But I think a big part of it is that, like in Magic, Marvel Snap has moved towards questions over answers, is how we call it. Basically, this deck can put out so much power that, like, you can win through a Shang, right? Like, your opponent can answer your Bishop or your Angela, having, like, boinged Korg back and Iceman, and then redeployed Angela, and then Beast, and, like, your Angela's like a 210 and your Bishop's like a 312, and like they could, like, okay, yeah, they can Shang one of those, but like you put out 2 demons two demons and like a Mysterio, and maybe like a Carnage to eat a Mysterio clone in one of the hoods on turn 6, and your opponent like shanged and played a 2-drop. It doesn't matter that they shanged you. Your questions are so much more powerful than their answers, and the further you get into the game, the more realistic that is. And like the Shuri deck has the most powerful and redundant and protected questions. And so, when I say question, I mean a card you deploy and say, if you don't answer this, I win. Like, the Shuri deck just doesn't play their questions into lanes that they're going to get answered anyway, right? Like, if they don't have it, they're not going to play out. They're usually not going to play out the game. They might if you don't snap on them. But if they don't have Cosmo or Armor out, they're just not deploying these things. And I guess this whole thing kind of comes full circle in relearning. When so I'm if you don't know this, I don't know how, but I am a queer person, and part of that experience for a lot of queer people is that perpetually we look 12. I looked very young, basically until my 30s, and I still definitely don't look 30, but I don't look like a literal child anymore, which is nice. But for a huge swath of my life, like well into my 20s, and I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but it certainly was mine, was basically being told, you will understand when you're older. You'll understand when you're older. And my answer to them was always, no, you understood when you were younger, and you let the cynicism of life kind of beat you down. You did understand. And it's also because I have kind of like a hopeful worldview, and people read that as naive, but that's getting off topic. The point is, at one point, I understood the value of patience, and then I let the Marvel Snap get to me. That sounds more negative than it is. I let the predominant gameplay forces dictate how I was playing, and I think that's happening with a lot of people. I think as people become more entrenched, they're more apt to err towards like, I'm just gonna try to go off, and also like, if I build my deck in such a way, it's hard to disrupt me going off, and that's always going to happen because that's how people want to play games, is by doing their own thing rather than stopping other people from doing a thing. Like, most people prefer that type of gameplay and that experience, so that's absolutely going to happen. But it's worth taking that step back and just remembering that, patience is a virtue. Like, the amount of times you've won a game because your opponent just misdeployed a number of cards and you just won the lanes that mattered, is probably huge. It's probably most of the games you win. If both players were playing optimally, the more efficient deck would always win, right? The deck that could just put out more raw numbers would always win. But people don't play optimally. Like, we're all human. And patience allows you to take advantage of your opponent's suboptimal plays and respond in kind with better plays. So that's it. It's just something I was thinking of, a little meditation today. I don't know. It was really fun. It was really fun thinking about this. It came up yesterday as a thought in my Disco Elysium thought cabinet, and I just wanted to bat it around on video, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way here, consider subscribing. You're the type of people that I probably want subscribed and want to talk more to. If you found all this, what is it? Elucidating, enlightening, or enriching. That's it. If you find my content any of those things, subscription. Discord join. We have a Discord. When I get to 500 subscribers, I'm doing a face reveal. And I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow.